Hello, everyone, and welcome to Atomic Mass Transmissions Live. I'm Will Schick, Director of Product Development, and behind the booth, as always, is the ever-immaculate and on-time Summer, who's definitely not giving me any kind of sass today. So,
Not giving you any sass.
not a single bit of sass today, not at all, not one. So excited to be here with you today, of course. As always, we've got some exciting hobby content on the way. I'm going to be painting up Count Dooku from Star Wars Shatterpoint. So this is one of the future expansions. I believe if you pay attention to the social media accounts tomorrow, you're probably going to get some inside info on what this man and his squad does or do. So be sure to watch out for that. But we figured that we would just go ahead and put some paint on this fine feller. Well, with that said, I'm going to turn on my light. Whoop! You'll notice that he is sans cape right now. He does have a beautiful flowing cape. I've left the cape off just to make it... Ooh, I'm going to throw the cape on the ground. I've left it off just to make it kind of easier to paint, especially on camera with the gimbal and everything else. I find that if you can kind of sub-assemble it, it's a little simpler for what we're going to do today. I'm not going to be using any kind of flashy oil painting or anything like that. I figured we'd just dive right back into doing some classic old acrylics. So I've got Chimera paints on my palette today. We're going to do a bit of mixing. And we're going to just kind of like come up with some unique color schemes because I don't have to paint one Dooku. And one of the great things about Star Wars Shatterpoint is the fact that you kind of get to dive into each character once, maybe twice, depending on if it's a supporting unit or not. And so it's a perfect time to kind of explore some more fun artist kind of stuff, some color theory, mix paints, mix and match, create your own colors, all that good stuff. I'm going to be going for a mostly traditional Dooku look today, though. So we're going to do the black tunic. We're going to have the deep dark brown pants. We're going to get some shiny boots, and then we'll see where we go from there. Maybe I'll get to the face today. We'll just see how it goes. So I'm going to start off with mixing up our tunic color here. So I'm going to take some Chimera black. And I think I want this to trail towards, go with some phthalo blue. And I just want to mix in a bit of the blue. Get a chromatic black, so flat black obviously is going to be not as interesting to the eye. So we could do just flat black and then build up grays using whites and stuff, but I want to get a little bit of blue in there. Not enough to make it a blue, but enough that we'll kind of like tint it that way, and then as we build up our highlights, we'll have a place to go. So I think this is going to be pretty good. Yeah, we'll start there. All right, and then we're just going to dive in, and we're going to start slapping on our chromatic black. And now one of the things I could do if I wanted to be like fancy is I could turn this into a bit of a wash and go with that high contrast painting style. I'm not going to do that today, though, because I think I'm going to do a bit more of an animated cartoon style approach where we're going to do some really blown out or some really strong like highlights and shadows and stuff. We're going to try to keep it kind of simple but blocky. I find it looks really good on the Shatterpoint miniatures due to their slightly animated style, and it's just fun to do. So we're just going to lay down a nice strong coat of our base and go from there. Lightsabers are tomorrow, so if you're going to be around 1 p.m. Pacific tomorrow, Dallas Kemp is going to be doing a whole class basically on stream about painting lightsabers. I believe he's going to go through every single lightsaber in the core box, is what he told me today. So he's going to cover how to do Ahsoka sabers and Maul saber and Anakin saber and Asajj saber. We'll probably get a couple others in there for good measure. So it should be a very, very fun hour, especially with how lightsabers are a very common, we'll go with common, painting thing, especially in all the Star Wars games, really, Legion and Shatterpoint, at least the Star Wars games that have characters running around, not in ships or big old capital starships, starfighters, starships. can we expect some X-Wing miniatures news? I'm pretty sure that, when was it? I don't know. The week before? Tuesday before? We discussed a little bit about X-Wing points updates, which are probably going to be the next big chunk of X-Wing related content news that I'm aware of. Those have passed their final stage of layout and development and all that. They've moved on to the final kind of steps where they go to marketing and they go to translators and all of that. So it can be nice and localized, and then they'll get approved through LFL and they'll be in your hands. And that will take into account all of the updates from the last several months, including some of the data analytics and testing based on the results of Worlds at Adepticon and some other things. So we really wanted to make sure that we took the time with this adjustment to address anything that kind of was outstanding from all the great tournament data that we got at Adepticon in the Worlds event and the other events that were run there as well. And there were several other data points that we pulled for the testing. So it should be a pretty fun one. And like I said, I think that's still expected to show up later this month. But it will be partially dependent on how the rest of the process goes. So obviously licensing and approvals and timelines and stuff, we can get things sent off, but it's less in our hands in terms of those turnarounds and everything. And if there are any kind of requested changes or questions, usually not changes on points update docs, but we do get questions from time to time. Just clarifying stuff. I have not really used any kind of like speed paint, contrast paint, anything like that on Shatterpoint. I'm sure it would work wonderfully. I've done kind of our studio stream kind of approach where you do the zenith highlight and then you just use washing, which is very similar. It's basically just speed painting without the speed paints, because the speed paints are a technique and it's nice that they're all packaged in a single bottle, right? But it's not exclusive to the pre-mixed paints that are available on the market these days. You can do it with any paint. It just requires some little mixing, some mixing medium, and then a little trial and error to get your mixes right. And it works very well. Like all of the sharp details and kind of that stylization that are present on these characters, they take that kind of washing technique, that high contrast technique really well. I'm sure using the internet sensation slap chop method, which is really just an extreme zenith highlighting and then washing technique, you'd get some really great results as well. So certainly a lot of different ways to approach these characters when painting, and I don't really think there are too many techniques that won't work out well. You have really nice broad areas. The cloth folds and everything have been designed to take paint really well and be fairly easy to get great results at, which means that there's no end of techniques that a person can try in their hobby and have success with. I've obviously been doing a lot of oil painting if you've watched the last few streams, and that's worked out really well with these guys. So there's all kinds of opportunity. I am using a Winsor Newton Series 7 size 2 right now, which is the brush that I use for most everything. I don't really need to paint his shoulders because these are going to be covered by his thing, but I'll put a little paint on there. You can see that they're not going to get covered super well because there's no primer, because I primed him zenithly with the cape on because the cape sticks pretty well. Okay, so for the most part, we look good on the tunic. So let's go ahead and mix up a nice dark chocolatey brown color for the pants. So I'm going to take some red oxide. Some red oxide. I'm going to take a little magenta just to get a bit more red in there. And then I'm going to take, because we've got the red going on, I should be able to dull this down with some phthalo green. Using some fancy color theory. Oh, look at me, I'm almost an artist. Not really. But opposite sides of the color wheel means that red and green will turn into a brown. I'm going to take a little bit of black. Darken this down because his pants are pretty dark. There we go. All right. So red oxide, phthalo green, black, a little bit of magenta. There you go. What's my personal favorite 4-person squad in Shatterpoint? If we're just going from the packs themselves, I think that's a tough one. Straight out of like the pre-built squad pack, I think my favorite one, it's either the Obi-Wan or the Dooku box. I think my only hesitation on the Dooku pack is that I don't love Jango in it. Not that I don't like Jango as a character, but normally, if I'm going to play Separatist Alliance, I want to run a lot of droids. So I often will swap Jango out and, like, you know. But if you do, if you take Jango and you also take, like, say, Asajj with Gar Saxon and then the Super Commandos, or Maul actually works really well in a strike team with Dooku, I think. So you can take the core box, kind of pre-built Maul, Gar Saxon, Super Commando squad, and you can have a lot of success with that, with Jango. But I always feel like if I don't have a little bit more Mandalorian support, not that Jango does anything for Mandalorians, he triggers much more off of Separatist Alliance stuff, but the other Mandalorian characters being able to benefit him, especially one of the secondaries, so Bo-Katan or Gar Saxon with their Pride of the Mandalorian stuff, it gives him that extra oomph that I find really makes utilizing his kit really, really nice. So oftentimes it's kind of like where I go. But I'm a big fan of Obi-Wan as well. I really like what his squad does. I like what Obi-Wan does a lot. I think he's really fun to play. So there's options. I don't remember. I'm going to pull up my reference because I literally don't remember what his belt looks like. Oh, all right. How dare you, ma'am? I will put this brush in my mouth to hold it whenever I please. All right, so his belt is kind of a warm leather. So we'll take a little bit of our ochre, a little bit of this, mix it together. Add a little bit of green just to dull it down a bit. Don't make me have you come in here, Summer, and start talking. I'll do it. I'll do it. Maybe a little bit of black. Not a lot, just a little. Just a touch. Just a touch. A little bit more of this yellow oxide. Yeah, it seems pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. All right, let's go with this. Let's knock in that belt really quick, and then we can play with it from there. Leathers are pretty easy to play around with. So I'm just going to get the color in. Color. I'll be honest with you. Color theory mostly goes over my head as well. The biggest, I think the biggest thing to kind of remember is just that, colors on the opposite side of the wheels will make brown or they'll shade each other really well. So, if you want to shade a red, add green to it. Don't add black, because black will desaturate it and it kind of like ruins the whole color. But a green will give you a really natural shade to a red and vice versa. Just little touches. And then of course, if you mix those two too much, you wind up with a brown. So that's how you get all your different flavors of brown. And then there's like fancy words like the value and the saturation and the vibrancy and all these different things that go along with really learning the color wheel and how to implement like basic color theory. There's a bunch of really incredible resources online, of course. There's much smarter people and better artists than me who have made some fantastic resource guides if you're interested in learning even just the basics. But you don't need, for what we do, I think for the most part, right? Unless you're looking at really diving into the worthy and, taking home Odin or a big trophy from a competition or something like that. Basic color theory, like just general understanding of how colors interact and how to utilize those properties to get better shadows and highlights and things, and then pull together your composition. Those will get you all the way. And you can glaze with, blue's a great shade to red. Blue's a bully color, so it kind of kills everything. Like you can shade pretty much any color with blue because it's the strongest natural pigment, so it bullies everything. But, blue and red are obviously really big and stuff. And you can glaze with regular paints like glazing, as we kind of talked about earlier with contrasting and stuff. It's a technique. It's not a unique formulation of paint, right? So you can take any paint and turn it into a glaze. In order to do that, you simply need mixing medium or flow extender, which you can find in almost every paint line, including more traditional artist lines and stuff. And then water, and the goal is to basically extend the paint out so that it becomes like a transparent film, right? And the difference between a glaze and a wash is that you want a wash to mostly pool into the crevices and the recesses, so you want it to flow into these deeper recesses here, right? And you only want it to like lightly stain or stretch over your raised areas. So in that case, you want kind of more water than you want medium, because the water will cause it to pool and it'll run and it won't stick as much. A glaze, think of a glaze like taking a transparent cellophane film and wrapping it around the whole area. So with a glaze, you want more medium when you thin, because what that'll do is it means that the paint will equally stick in the same ratio over the entire surface. Again, the best way it was ever explained to me, and the way that I kind of understood it, is if you think about a Photoshop filter, or you think about taking old school 3D glasses with the red and the blue cellophane, and you close one eye and you look at the world through the cellophane, everything gets that blue tinge. It's all equal, right? The transparency layer is equal across everything. And that's what a glaze does. And so the glaze is supposed to tint everything. Whereas the wash is specifically formulated and designed to only shade the recesses and the crevices. So it's two similar techniques, but also very different based on what you're trying to accomplish with them. I'm going to go back to my black mix here. I'm just going to add in some white. And we're going to create a little bit of a highlight. I don't want to go too far with it. So like right about there will be pretty. You don't have to whisper, Summer. You can just talk. I don't even know if they can hear you, to be honest. But you might as well just talk. Just go crazy. Oh, no, you're just shaking your head at me? That's fine. You're not here? You totally are here, though. I can. There's an open door. And it's not even a wall, it's a window. Yeah, a window to a wall, if you will. Such hurtful words here. Such hurtful words. This is pretty stark, but we can always bring it back down by using a glaze. I love it. I love how it all comes together. So we're just going to kind of like use a little two brush blending to pull those colors together. Then in areas where we get a little too strong, we can come back and glaze it back down. And black is primarily defined by its highlights, so you know, you want to be very thoughtful in your approach to where you're placing your highlights and how much. And obviously if you pull your highlights too much, like right now, we're kind of getting a bit more blue in our black because our highlight color has a lot of blue in it. If that goes a little too high for us, again, we can just use a glaze, a nice black glaze, and we can pull these colors back down and bring them back together. So I'm just gonna let this play because I know I can always go back and fix it later. I can adjust, I can do all the things. And this is one of those things that, again, not having to paint an entire squad or, you know, a whole army allows you the freedom and the flexibility to kind of be like, okay, I'm going to take a little bit more time. I'm going to stretch my abilities and myself a little bit, and just have the luxury, if you want, of doing a little practice, a little exploring, like diving in and being like, I don't have to finish one guy in 30 minutes because 6 of those guys makes 3 hours. I can just spend 3 hours playing around and messing around with this one person. Like right now, I'm being a fool because I know there's a cloak back here and no one's ever going to see this, but hey, it's there. And we've got the time, so let's hang out and paint with it. I do, but Summer would have to go get it. Or maybe Andrew would get it. They want to see the oil-painted Vader, Summer. They want to see how it dried.
Someone else do it, but I did it.
I know, so now you got to go get it.
I'll be RB.
All right.
Anything silly, sir.
What could I do? All right, Summer's going to go run and get it because I did hand it to her. So all I'm doing here is just kind of sketching out and picking out the highlights in the cloth and then blending it down into the shadows. But again, we're playing with black, so I don't have to worry about that too much. And come over here. And this, I'm just letting the folds, I'm just letting those folds guide me as to where I'm going to put those highlights. But as the famous Bob Ross once said, you know, you want to keep that darkness. So don't go too crazy with your highlights. It starts feeling really good and you keep going. And then all of a sudden they take over your whole world. And that's not what we want. We want to keep those shadows established. Not only because it'll make everything feel more like black, but also because the shadows are what are going to give shape and depth to our miniature here. Oh, that was so quick. You're so fast.
They call me Speedy. No, nobody calls me that, sorry.
Do they call you the Streak? Summer the Streak?
I get Sassy Summer every once in a while.
Sassy Summer doesn't really speak to your speed, though. I'd say Speed Force, but it's not Star Wars, so it's the wrong IP. But Speed Force Summer does have a ring to it. The back is our little secret. You know, no one will ever see it, but you all sitting here with me, you'll know. And I'll know. I'll know it's there. will know it's there. Oh, no, I dropped my blending brush. The disaster. Fell right out of my mouth. I was so excited to be sharing secrets with y'all. The back of Count Dooku that no one will ever see when I put on his cloak. It's going to be our little secret, Summer. We all know it's there. We all know it's there, and that's what's important. And this is a great opportunity to say, this is why I don't really paint in sub-assemblies very often, because I don't want to spend time working on things that I know the eye won't see, or people won't see, or I won't see. And that is a personal choice. Again, you know it's there, and maybe it's important to you, and you wanna have all the areas covered in paint. And if you do, then nothing should stop you from doing that. You should live that life. For me, 99% of the time, I assemble the miniature completely, and if I can't see it, got a little free hair there. If I can't see it when the miniature is assembled, then I know that no one else can see it either. So it doesn't matter if I paint it or not. And that is just one of those artistic choices that you get to make as the artist and hobbyist working on it. Uh-oh, she's back. What are you doing, Summer? What's happening?
Sharpen up this.
Okay, sharpen up the image. Actually, you should stay there because I'm pretty sure the image is going to change when I bring out this Vader in a second.
I just stand here and breathe.
I know.
And judge.
Can you breathe really heavy for me? Just like, give me your best Darth Vader impression, Summer. Come on, best Darth Vader impression. Go.
Oh gosh.
Go. 3, 2, 1. Vader.
No, I almost did like 7 octaves too high for.
No, you just got to do the breath. I mean,
but my breathing is pretty.
Your breathing is high. Vader's breathing is pretty high pitched. Maybe you're Vader on the verge of dying in Return of the Jedi, which would be timely since we're approaching the 40-year anniversary of it.
If I had my CPAP machine, maybe, because I sound pretty crazy with that thing.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. It's basically a Darth Vader breathing apparatus. So give me the impression of what you sound like with your CPAP machine then. Quick.
No.
Come on. Stop making me look foolish in front of all of our friends out there.
I do not need help with that.
Wow. The audacity. I mean, even if it's true, that's still mean. Words still hurt, Summer. Come on, Darth Vader impression. Do it. Come on.
I don't even know what to do. Like, you just want me to breathe heavily?
Yeah. You just go.
Like, okay, so you do, like, you want to use your mouth for, like, good, like, exhale, right? Every time I go to do it, I just giggle.
See, you got it. There you go. You did it. Oh, see, I like yours, but you're using your hands even.
I am using my hands. I'm making
you got like the whole thing going on. You got your makeshift like Darth Vader mask going on over there. I like it. Okay. Clean this color off really quick.
Yeah, I can't beat
No one can.
his Tusken Raider.
Okay,
Yelp.
pop this guy off. All right, so this is the Vader now that the oils have dried. So, a little bit of refinement still to go. I actually didn't wind up doing anything to him after the stream. I just ran out of time. So this is pretty much where we ended after an hour using the oils. And I see that he collected a couple of fuzzies from folks, but those come right off. So now the nice thing is obviously I could go back and I could add another layer of oils to him and kind of like refine everything, or I could just give him a quick spray of clear coat, and then I could go in and start using acrylics to like pick out anything that I wanted. So, and this is without any clear coat, so the oils do dry, or at least the Winton oils I found dry with a bit of a shine. So they're definitely glossier than I normally would like. Although with Vader it kind of works because he's a pretty shiny black. But you can take down a lot of this color, or a lot of that sheen with stuff. So there's that, and then this is where Dallas ended up on his little Obi-Wan from the You Cannot Run pack, which I thought was pretty cool. And there they are together. I don't even know if that fits on the camera, but
it does. It looks really good.
So yeah, so that's where those two characters ended up. All right, back to the action. Yeah, Dallas, I was there. I was listening to his Tuscan sound and his soft Chewbacca sounds.
That was probably my favorite.
That was something else. I can't do the Chewie sounds at all. Like that is not a skill I possess. Yeah, get us back in focus, Summer. Come on, get with it. Man, these little stray hairs are gonna be the death of me.
Stop with the stray hair shit. Come on.
I'm not the one who's doing it, Summer. It's not me. I'm not doing it. So I'm just going to come through and start shading our pants a little bit. I need these to be a bit deeper of a brown. Now that they've dried, I can definitely tell that we didn't quite go dark enough with them. So we're gonna just work into the shadows. This is something I could do with a wash as well if I wanted to, but I want a bit more control over where these shadows are being placed. I don't necessarily want the staining effect on the higher portions, so I can have a bit more control with that and work a little faster because I won't have the drying time involved with a wash if I just use my normal paint and use my blending brush. And like I can even go back in and say I want this to be a bit darker because it's on the other side, so I can add a little black to it. And this is kind of the point where I'm somewhat missing my oils a little bit, because this would be a lot simpler and faster to pull together if I was just blending those oils on the miniature. But you can see how we kind of deepened up those pants just by establishing better shadows. Kind of blending those out. There are foil cards in the You Cannot Run dual pack, yes. That might be too much of a spoiler. I don't know. But yeah, it does have some cool shiny stuff in it. So again, we like to take those opportunities to, dive in and make kind of a more premium collector item and open up those hobby opportunities and everything else. And that was a exciting project because I talk about it quite a bit actually in the interview that I did with the Jodo cast. If you want the full download, you can check that out. We talked about lots of stuff on that one, but I actually recorded that I think the same day as same week as we announced the pack, so they had some questions about it that were really great. But we had always had in the plans that we wanted to do kind of dual packs and have those more hobbyist focused, artistic kind of like pieces that really open up the medium and give everyone the opportunity to make cool miniature displays and all of that. And it was when we were talking about that idea, that product concept with LFL, that they actually latched onto it and raised the prospect of us doing that for the Kenobi show. And so we got to get in on making stuff for the show, which then led to the Inquisitor box, and of course having everybody's favorite Star Wars villain, Darth Vader, in the game much, much earlier than planned because of that opportunity to collaborate and work with them. And it was all brought about through, the discussion of what our vision was for adding that element, and LFL really latching onto it and being like, that's such a cool concept and idea, and what if you did this first? So it's neat, so many things often are built out or come from specific ideas or where they make sense, LFL saw a lot of potential in the dual pack idea, and they were excited by it, and it gave us the opportunity and the chance to work on them, or worked with them on something that was like way ahead of where it would have normally been. So, all right, we're gonna go into these boots, and in order to keep them kind of more leathery, I'm not going to use my blue because I want them to be different from the tunic. So I'm just going to use a basic old gray. So we're just going to mix some white and some black together, and we're just going to make kind of a neutral gray. What? What? What are you laughing about? Oh, it's just me hanging out. I'm glad I wasn't picking my nose. Please, Summer. Can you pull it together for me? Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Jeez, Mo. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to embarrass me in front of all these people. Just trying to embarrass me in front of all these people.
You need to do a Vader breathing voice.
So now the revenge is swift and terrible? Is that...
You were picking your nose. I made sure.
Did you make sure? Because I'm pretty sure you're like, whoops, didn't mean to do that. What if I was just up there, like, mining for moisture?
And I could have just left it there for gosh knows how long.
You could have. I mean, I feel like if you don't respect me, though, you respect the audience who's watching. And we all know what they came to see, and it wasn't just me bent over a table staring like a deer in the headlights at what is even going on anymore. How did my life come to this? Oh man, I don't think I've sneezed yet on a stream, but if I did, it would be horrifying. Because I am a loud sneezer. And it's never one, it's always like 5. I guess. I mean, I had the dad sneeze before I was a dad, though. It's just intense. But thankfully, it only really happens when I'm exposed to sunlight, because I have heliotropism or whatever it's called, which is not super uncommon, I guess. But if you happen to be a person who sneezes when bright light hits you, especially like sunlight, that's what that is. Sky Earth non-metallic metal. I have not. We don't typically do a lot of non-metallic metal stuff. It's not a thing that we do in the studio because miniatures, we take 360-degree shots, and those effects are hard to get to be consistent at all angles. So for the most part, you'll notice that for all the studio minis, and then also for what we do on the streams, we just mostly paint with true metallic metals. And Dallas is a huge proponent of true metallic metals approach, and he's done, man, so many classes on it. I think, when I watch people do non-metallics, it always feels like witchcraft to me. Like, I understand what they're doing, but I also have no idea. My brain just doesn't work that way. And it's just a practice thing, I'm sure if I sat down and really honed that skill like I have with so many other things, anything in the hobby, it's just repetition. And repetition, and you learn your lessons and you get better at it. I'd probably be fine, but it's never quite been on my wish board of like things that I want to work with. So, not something that I can really teach or discuss. And I don't think I'm sure Dallas can do it, but I don't know. You'd have to ask him on stream tomorrow what his thoughts would be on showcasing some of that, or if that would be something that you feel comfortable doing a class on through the streams. I'll sit here. I'll come to that one. I'll sit right over his shoulder and watch and ask a lot of annoying questions, and Darth Vader breathe into his ear. Okay, let's see. So grab a little bit of white. A bit more of this ochre. Come in here and do some quick highlighting on the belt. Oh yeah, how to paint smoke. I know that, yeah. I would be shocked if that wasn't something that was covered in the the next couple of streams probably. There's a lot of different ways to approach that. And I think Dallas's approach is very different from the way I do it. But what I found works best for that is I typically paint the smoke with kind of, I wet blend a couple of different washes on there. So I'll use yellow and red, and I'll kind of make sure that the red stays on the outside, the yellow stays on the inside, and then in the middle I use the wet blend to get an orange. And then from there, once that's dry, I will, depending on the type of explosion or jet fumes that I want, I take one of my retired brushes that has been promoted to stipple duties. I mix up like various levels of gray, depending on what kind of like gray smoke I want, or if I want really violent like explosion, I'll do blacks, like really dark, oily kind of black smoke and stuff. And then you just stipple on over the top of your explosion colors, and it gives you kind of that smoky texture, and you can build it up to be, you know, as fiery and fresh or as kind of smoky as you want it to be. And for me, that works out really, really well. So I really like that. It gives you a lot of control and options when making those things. And it gives you some really good texture as well, because the stipple obviously leaves kind of that classic texturing, which makes it feel more like a chaotic or explosive kind of effect. So that's what I do. And I think Dallas has some similarities to his approach, but obviously everybody kind of has different or unique techniques to them. And then with the Mandalorians from the core box, what I actually did, because that kind of jetpack wash it's not really fiery, you know, it's fiery out of the kind of directly, immediately out of the little jet propulsion section. I can't come up with the word because I'm clearly brain dead right now. The little rocket boosters themselves. So I'll do the red or the yellow and then the wet blend to red. And then what I'll do is for the rest of it, I actually just do the stippling grays, blacks, or the grays. I just stipple the grays on. And I go from like a mid-tone gray to a nice off-white. I like blues in my jet smoke. I feel like blue tinged gray is, for me, makes the jet wash or the jet smoke look correct. And so that's what I go to. But you can kind of go to any color you wanted. You could, of course, do black as well if you wanted to be more oily and kind of makes it look more evil. But you just skip the inner explosion, the color part. And so it makes it look like kind of car exhaust or just like normal jet wash exhaust. And you still have the color right where the rocket blast is coming from. And that keeps it pretty quick and easy, honestly, compared to like doing an explosion or something like that. There's slightly fewer steps, so you can knock it out pretty quick, and I think it looks pretty good. If you saw the first Shatterpoint game stream that we did between Plummer and myself, those Mandalorians I was playing with, those were my Mandalorians, so you can kind of see how what I just explained looks like in in reality. So determine if it seems like something that might work for you. But yeah, that approach is pretty simple. But there's numerous ways to do it. So if you don't like the look of that, you can always try something else. Okie dokie. Is it safe to assume that vehicles won't be more than terrain features in this game? You never know, I guess, is kind of the answer to that. You just never know. So I don't really see a world in which vehicles become like kind of mainstays, or they exist outside of special or game modes, because you know it would be a challenge to balance. But maybe we come up with a great idea and crack the code. You know, game's not even out yet. I don't want to put too many limiters on what could or could not happen, right? So, and honestly, if I said, no, they'll never be a part of it, I guarantee you in like a year and a half, we'd be on Extravaganza, and I'd be like, guess what's coming? That's right. This guy was wrong again. I feel like half the time that happens because the second that we say no around here, we all start thinking about, well, okay, we don't like the word no. How do we do it? No is not a very fun answer. So oftentimes when the no gets said, no one challenges the no per se, but everyone starts thinking about, well, how do we get around the no? What can we do instead? Yeah. Just like grunts. Thin this out just a wee bit. It's a little thick. And knock that out. Oh, try to keep this off your glorious beard and mustache if we can. Summer, talk. It's so quiet. That you don't talk? Yeah, but you're talking right now. So clearly that was a lie. Don't make me build a time machine and take you on Worry. I'll get you that polygraph test. Does Summer talk on streams? She said no. The lie detector test determined that was also a lie.
Listen, I only talk when I'm prompted to.
Oh, I see.
Stronger words.
No one buys it. No one buys it, Summer. All right. No. no drow. We're getting to the flesh tones now. So a little yellow, a little white, a little red. Now we come in at a bit more white. A lot more white. We gotta get that pale Dooku skin going on here. A little, just the tiniest drop of green, and see where that takes us. Too much green. Such a powerful color, Summer. White. Bit of yellow. Too much yellow. It's fine. This is part of the fun of mixing. Oh, I don't mind that, actually. Let's see where that takes us. Let's see where that color takes us. A little bit of water just to thin it out. Oh, this Dooku has such amazing detail sculpted into it. I think you can do great at it. Let's see. A bit more water. I want a bit more white. Too far, maybe? We'll just kind of blend. See where we end up. Into a bit more of a glaze here, so we can blend it a little bit better. Yeah, the slightly larger scale obviously helps a lot when it comes to what detail you can add and everything. And the stylization is another big piece of the secret puzzle here, because we can really get in and define cloth and kind of make for an overall stylistically great miniature that also is rewarding to paint and offers a lot for all levels. I think that's one of the really exciting bits about Shatterpoint for me from a hobbyist perspective is, I think ideally people are going to find that there's just a lot of opportunity when it comes to approaching these miniatures in the way that you want. So whether that's I'm just looking to get paint on these characters as quickly as possible and get to playing on the tabletop, you're going to have lots of opportunities. Like we talked about earlier, you know, I think they'll take to some of those more speed paint options, whether that's slap chop or high contrast or washes and zenith primes and everything else. Or if you want to go two brush blending and do more of what we've been doing on this stream here, which is taking a bit more time and doing some artistic exploration with color mixing and everything else. Like, this is quite literally the first time I've ever done skin tones from the ground up. So, you're watching me put all of my video watching and discussion about skin tones and how to mix your own and create cool effects and everything. Like, this is it. This is me putting it into practice right now. I have never done it before. I've done mixing skin tones, but usually using like an existing lines flesh tone. So, you know, mixing a little bit more red or green or whatever into a basic color or an existing color. But I've never started from my own base like we have today. Well, that's pretty cool, because here we are doing it. And if there's one thing I love to do, it's to fail on camera so that everyone else can see that if I can figure it out, or if I can screw it up and still recover, you all can too. You can probably do way better than me. For sure. And that's super dope. Because the one thing, the only lesson that I really want to ever give out when I'm on these streams, if you learn something from me or pull a new technique or get inspired to go learn from an actual expert on a new technique that I'm fumbling my way through, that's awesome. But my real only goal here is to just make you unafraid of failing. Because making mistakes or fumbling your way through something for the first or second or third time, that's how you learn. And I rarely get anything right on the first try, and to be honest, as Summer knows, I rarely get anything right on the 12th try. I just get slightly better each time. And I've been fortunate enough that I've been getting slightly better for the last 30 years. And I'm still not that good. As far as I'm concerned, I got a lot to learn, and I'm excited to learn it. I'm excited to try it and push myself. Summer's let me go 10 minutes over. I think it's because Dallas made her mad at lunch today.
No, I actually distinctly remember you opening this stream with your time managing me.
Oh, see, this is Summer's let. See, I'm time managing myself, Summer. I got nowhere to be. I'll be here forever.
Your words.
Eat my words. Well, my words taste delicious. Did you not hear the part where I said I'm wrong all the time? We literally just had that conversation about how I'm never right. So you being like, look at you, you've screwed up on time management. I'm like, and? What's different? I'm wrong again. Congrats, Summer. You proved my point. I'm wrong again. Well, see? This is a great moment to end on because now we get an actual sample of me yet again failing, but failing up.
You're following the style.
That's right. I'm going to get back up with even more style, and that's how we're going to do it here. All right. Well, I'm going to just go ahead and finish out my...
Folks are pretty curious about that little spot in the back of his neck. That's for his cape, right?
Yeah, so I'll show you. Boop. So there you go. So once you glue that cape on, see? There's also every possibility that when I was gluing him together, I didn't get the head completely set into the neck, but once the cape is on, you'll never notice it. So see? Boop. Not everything gets assembled perfectly. We've already discussed this. Sometimes you just make mistakes. But hey, guess what? I got a cape that's going to go in the way and no one's ever going to see it. So it'll be perfectly fine. All right, with that, I should probably wrap up because I'm pretty sure I have meetings now. So, well, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you had fun. I hope that you're excited to go try some color theory, even mild as it may be. Maybe mix some paints on a wet palette. Who knows? Maybe you'll just dive in and continue to paint the way you like to paint, and that's perfectly fine too. Be sure to join us tomorrow, 1 p.m. Pacific, as Dallas Kemp is going to be walking us through all the lightsabers and how to paint them. I plan on tuning in as well because I'd love to get his tips and tricks on how to make those lightsabers glow like the Dickens. Till then, be good to each other. We'll see you next week, Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific. Join Dallas tomorrow. Goodbye.